The new M3 14-inch MacBook Pro is nice, but is it really worth spending the money when you can buy an M1 MacBook Air and both of these come with 8 gigabytes of RAM? Well, today I'm gonna make the choice easy, and I think a lot of you guys are going to be surprised. Now, we have done a ton of testing over the last month, and I did not recommend this machine to people because of that RAM. The MSRP is $1,600, but you can buy an M1 Air for $750 when you use that coupon code. By the way, we have links below. Or for $660, you can get a refurbished one with a 3-month return policy. And if you want to upgrade to a terabyte of storage and 16 gigs of RAM, that is $950 compared to $2,000 if you upgrade this one. Starting off with the designs, this uses the 14-inch body that we've had for a couple years. It's a little bit more modern, but the Air is just so classic with its wedge shape that I really like, and it's actually quite a bit more comfortable for typing. It is also thinner and lighter and just a little bit more enjoyable taking it around with you. Now, of course, you do have the larger bezels compared to the newer Macs, and you do not have that notch built in, which, by the way, let's compare the webcams. This is the 720p webcam and the built-in microphones in the M1 MacBook Air. As you guys could see, the quality isn't terrible, but it's not amazing either. It's a little bit fuzzy. And then right over there where we have that light, it is blown out. And this is the 1080p webcam and the studio quality microphones in the M3 14-inch MacBook Pro. As you guys see, the light is not blown out. I have a lot more detail, more contrast. It's definitely the better webcam, but you guys let me know about the difference in microphone quality down in the comments. Need access to all of your systems while on the go? Well, with Pulseway, you could do just that. Access systems, remote in, run scripts, all of it from any device closest to you. Secure their special year-end specials with the link below. Now, as far as ports, this is where the Pro starts to stand out. First off, we have MagSafe for charging, and that is really nice because it leaves your other ports open compared to having to use USB Type-C. Now, I often charge my MacBooks with USB Type-C anyways because I have that cable, but that means that you just have one Thunderbolt left over. The 14-inch Pro keeps its 2 Thunderbolt ports opened up because you can use MagSafe, and you also get a full-size SD card slot and an HDMI port as well. Now, is that worth spending a lot of extra money? Personally, I don't think so, because for about $50, you can get a dongle. Yes, dongles kind of suck, but you get a whole ton of ports, including Ethernet, USB-A, you get a micro SD card reader along with a regular one, HDMI, and that gives you more ports than you can get here. I would just keep it in your bag. And by the way, I made a full video on the best accessories for MacBooks, so I'll have that linked as well down below. And now let's talk about the displays. The 14-inch one is larger and the aspect ratio is a little bigger because you have that notch there. And with that, it actually gets brighter, 600 nits now compared to 400. Now, for normal use in a normal room, it's not that big of a deal, but if you go outside, you will notice it. Now, the sharpness and detail are very similar, and if you're watching regular SDR content, it looks pretty much the same, but we have a mini LED display in here, and that means that it can get ultra bright if you're viewing or working with HDR footage. So if you like watching new movies, that does make it nicer because you don't get that grayness in the dark if you're watching on this display. And with that, you also have ProMotion, so it is also a little bit smoother. I will say that this is probably the biggest reason I would want to get a 14-inch because you get that nicer media and display experience, but not everybody cares about that. Now, with that, we also have differences in speakers. This thing has dual speakers with our little grills up here, but the 14-inch has a 6-speaker system with dedicated woofers. Go ahead and take a listen to the difference. And I'm sure you guys absolutely could tell the difference. We just have such nice bass in the system. That's why I say the whole media experience is probably the biggest reason to spend that extra money. And now we need to talk about the cooling systems, because the MacBook Air is completely fanless compared to the 14-inch, which has a single fan. Now, all the previous 14-inch models had dual fans, and Apple had to spend more money to redesign it to make it worse, because when we tested this thing, it heated up really quickly and the fan was way louder than other 14-inch MacBooks that we have used. So we're pretty much comparing a completely silent machine to one that if you start pushing it, you're gonna get great performance, but it is gonna run loud, and that sucks because Apple didn't really have to do that. So if you care about a completely silent machine, you can go with the Air, and it just doesn't even have a fan. But with that, we need to talk about performance. And I'm gonna start out with Geekbench just for an overall performance. And in single core, the 14-inch is about 32% faster. We do have that difference. Now, this could apply to some regular tasks, but I've seen a lot of people say that for emails, web browsing, they can't really tell a difference because both are very fast. And that's why people love the MacBook Air. Now, in terms of multi-core, we have a difference of 38%, and this is for your tougher tasks. Now, this is updated with Geekbench 6, so we are seeing that difference here. So when you start pushing it, that will come into play, but I'll give you guys another test in a second. But first, I wanna switch to graphics because that's where we have the biggest difference. With our Geekbench 6 Metal score, we have a difference of 89% because this is the bent model. You can actually get better graphics in here, but you're paying more. And so if you're gonna be doing something like doing games or something that really hits the GPU, we do see that difference there. Now, in terms of throttling, because it doesn't have a fan in Cinebench, which puts a full load on, we have a difference of 53%. And that just shows that if you're gonna hit the CPU consistently for a long time, it will slow down and give you a little bit more of a difference. But for photo editing with Lightroom, the crazy thing is we have a very small difference between the machines. I'm talking about maybe 20 extra seconds of waiting if you're rendering. And when you're actually editing the photos, it's not that different either. So for most people that are editing pictures, unless you're making money with it, you're gonna be just fine. And then for video editors, editing a 4K project with various effects, the export time is identical with both systems because they both have the same encoders, so there's no difference there. Now, in the timeline, the smoothness will also be very similar unless you pack in a crazy amount of effects, and that's where this one will be better. But it's slowed down by 8 gigs of RAM, so that actually goes against it. Now, with that said about performance, I wanted to go back and talk about the use case because a lot of people said that this machine right here is for casual users. Even though it costs so much and it's labeled a pro, it is not for pros, especially with that 8 gig of RAM. And I agree, you need to spend $2,000 if you want this to actually perform the way it should. And for the people that are gonna walk into a store and buy an 8 gig configuration, for the things that they do, what most of those people do, the M1 MacBook Air is gonna do an excellent job. It is still so fast and much faster than your old Intel MacBook or Windows machine. Most people doing regular tasks are gonna be just fine. When the MacBook Air came out, it blew people's minds as far as its battery life. It gets 8 to 10 hours, but the M3 Pro gets about 2 hours more in real-world mixed use because of the much bigger battery and the newer chip that is a little bit more efficient for light tasks. And then if you really push it, it will get worse because you're using a lot more power. So in general, the battery life is a bit better with this one. So to conclude all of this, personally, for what people are gonna be buying this for at that lower price without upgrading anything, most of those people will still be completely fine and happy getting the MacBook Air and saving a whole lot of money. And for people that come up to me personally and ask if they need just a regular system that's gonna run well with great battery life, I would say save the money and get one of these, or spend $400 more and get an M3 Pro because that one is so much faster than this if you need that performance. So thank you guys for watching. Check out the links down below to those other videos and accessories. Click that circle button to subscribe. Check out one of those videos right over there. This has been Max, and I will see you in the next one.